I shaved 10 minutes off my half marathon PB, going from a grueling 1 hour 31 to absolutely bouncing past the finish line in 1 hour 21:50, and thinking, oh my goodness, I've actually done it. I saw that number and thought, vindication, all of that training, it's actually come good. But the key thing here is that although I had done some training, because I'm a new parent, my training was pretty erratic, and I actually think the key change that I had done was my nutrition. And I'm really keen to walk you through everything I did on the race day -1 that led to me having such a good performance. Because on the day, to be honest with you, I felt pretty nervous. It's the first time I've been documenting the process, and I posted on social media about trying to run under 1 hour 30, and that was my goal. And then I got to the pen, and actually being that far forward in the starting pen when at the start line, I was thinking, oh goodness, am I doing the right thing here? Will I be able to achieve this? Because I was there just in like a baggy running t-shirt and my massive trail running backpack, and everyone around me is in their tight-fitting running vests with their running clubs, and I'm not part of a running club, so I felt pretty out of place. But then being able to get into the run and feel that good, it just made me think, oh my goodness, I can do this. And I think that confidence when I was running came from what I did the day before. So I want to talk you through exactly what you can do on race day -1 to lift your carb levels so that you can be really well fueled during your race. And this will apply for a half marathon distance and a marathon distance. Whether you necessarily need to do a structured carb load, I mean, the research says that carbohydrate loading is reserved for exercise over 90 minutes. So does that mean that you shouldn't do it for exercise of 89 minutes? I mean, that one's questionable. I'll leave that up to you. Carb loads in the literature are 10, maybe 12 grams per kilogram of body weight. General carb top-ups are going to be more in the range of 8 to 10. I actually went for 8 grams per kilogram of body weight, but combined it with doing a lot less activity on the day. And this would be a strategy I would recommend for you. Instead of going for the higher end of the carbohydrate loads, where you're not actually getting that much extra benefit, because you then get faster rate of glycogen usage during the exercise. So getting up to 8 is a good spot, making sure that you are above 7, because there's research suggesting that below 7 grams per kilogram body weight on race day -1 will not be as effective as more than 7. All of that is a lot of numbers, James. I want to make this video practical, so I'm going to walk you through exactly what I ate, okay, so we can talk about it in terms of food. So I've got my laptop here so I can talk you through my MyFitnessPal log so that we can look at the food and also look at the numbers. Another key strategy on this race day -1 was going for low fiber foods, because I wanted to hit this carbohydrate intake without consuming just an excessive amount of total energy, so that I wasn't feeling really stuffed and bloated and waking up on the day of race day thinking, oh my goodness, I'm so full and how am I now going to have to run fast? So I wanted high carbohydrate intake and low fiber. I'm going to get into my plan here and talk you through everything I ate. So I started the day with a really big bowl of Rice Krispies. Kids cereal, fantastic way of getting in carbs without any additional fiber. I had normal milk with that, but I also drizzled on some maple syrup. Again, panic, refined sugar. Yes, because there's no fiber in that, it's going to be a good way to get carbs up. I'm not really fussed if there's going to be a lot of sugar on this day. It's going to be a good way to hit that carbohydrate intake. This isn't an everyday strategy. This is a specific strategy as part of your carb load. I also had some raisins in there just to give it a little bit of texture. Then throughout the morning, the key thing is to try and get a huge amount of carbs in, because we want to front load this day with your carb intake. So this is where I then had some snacks. So I had some rice cakes and I had honey on those, and I also had some Marmite, so it wasn't all sweet. There's a big amount of carbohydrate in that. So that we got up to 45 grams of carbohydrate just from the rice cakes, and there's an additional 30 odd coming from the honey. So that's around 1 gram per kilogram body weight, if you think about it like that in those terms, because I'm around 80 kilograms. I then had a sports drink. Because those Rice Krispies are fairly light, I'm not feeling that full, so I was able to then have a big carb drink. And this is where I had a hypertonic, so there's a lot of solute in there. It's just a really practical strategy because you can drink carbohydrate a lot easier than you can eat it. So I made up a drink that was 80 grams of carbohydrate. So I had 1 gram per kilogram body weight just in that glass. I was able to drink that. I think my wife made me down it, but I actually drank that, got it down really quickly. And again, you're not feeling that full afterwards. Then throughout the morning, I had some work bits to do. So I just had a sports drink, which was a Lucozade Sport. I sort of sipped on that through the morning. And then I had made my lunch. And lunch is a big lunch. So I actually split it into 2 portions, just so that it wasn't quite so daunting seeing it all in one big bowl. It was a Chinese rice, stir fry, so it was egg fried rice. Big amount of carbohydrate in there. So the total lunch, I had 200 grams of dry weight rice, and that brought 156 grams of carbohydrate in that, and that's the majority of the carbs in that meal. So all of that split between the 2 feedings. So I had one at lunchtime and one a couple of hours after, just so that I wasn't feeling overly bloated. There's 191 grams of carb in those 2 meals. Because I'd split that and I'd done the majority of my snacking through the morning, I then had dinner. And again, I kept it rice-based, but this time I had rice noodles. So big amount of rice noodles. We had a bowl. It was 87 grams of carbohydrate coming from the rice noodles. So again, just over that 1 gram per kilogram body weight. But because I'd already done 7 grams per kilogram body weight before dinner, actually this meal wasn't a massive meal. It's not like the classic big pasta parties where you've got to eat your body weight in carbohydrate the evening before. If you can do most of it through the morning at lunch, then actually you're tapering down your intake at dinner. That was quite an early dinner so that I could all settle. I went to bed, was able to have a really good night's sleep, and I'd hit my numbers. I hit 8.2 grams per kilogram body weight, totaling 633 grams of carb. Now, you want to take this structure, don't eat the exact same thing. Remember, I'm 80 kilograms, so you want to be looking for that 8 grams per kilogram of your body weight. Take some of the ideas of the things that I've had, lots of rice products, good ways to get carbs up but keep fiber down. On race day morning, I decided not to go low fiber because I wanted some slow releasing carbohydrate. I knew that I run well on porridge. I had that 3 hours before. So the race was at 10, had that at 7. Then I had my coffee. That was just to get the bowel moving so I could have a nice successful bowel movement soon after. And then actually I didn't need to go again before the race, which was really helpful because when nerves are going, you don't want to be thinking, I'm waiting for the porta toilet. I sipped on a sports drink en route, so in the sort of hour, 90 minutes before the race, and then I had a gel 5 minutes before. So yes, obviously there was a fair amount of training that went into that half marathon result. So I'm going to share a little bit about what I did. Now, I'm a Coros user, so I went on their website. I basically typed in half marathon training plan. Kept it as simple as that. I didn't work with a running coach. I just wanted something free because this was a social goal. It was something I didn't want to spend a huge amount of money on. So I found a free training plan on there. They did 12-week programs. So because the run finished, or the run was on the 23rd of February, it started about the start of the year. Now they do beginner, intermediate and advanced 12-week programs, and they do that either based on heart rate or pace. So I thought, right, I've had a fair bit of training background, I will go for an advanced plan. All that means there's a few more runs per week, and I did it based on a pace. So I was trying to achieve a 1 hour 30 half marathon, which was my goal. So within that plan, I downloaded it all, you set it up on your watch, and I would highly recommend you do this if you're training towards a half marathon. You want to have a schedule. You want to know what runs you're doing over the week so that you can plan them in. This will allow you to plan your nutrition around those runs. Now, as a new parent and managing a busy job and childcare, I was quite time poor. So it had 6 runs programmed in, but I simply couldn't get all of those done. I couldn't find the time. Quite often it was squeezing a run in when I just had half an hour and was able to get out the door, or maybe even use my running pram. So out of those 6 runs a week, I prioritized 3 of them. I was like, 3 are non-negotiable. I'm going to make time, plan those ones into my day. And then if I can squeeze out for a few others, then I will, and I'll take that as a bonus. That way I wasn't feeling guilty about not achieving all 6. And I just thought I'm going to cut myself some slack here. So the runs I prioritized were the long weekend run, which is the key one for hitting marathon pace. And then there were 2 others which I prioritized based on my training background. So my training background, I was coming off an ultra season the year prior. So I had been doing lots of low, slow. So actually I had a very decent base. However, I hadn't done any intensity. I hadn't done any short stuff. Therefore, I wanted to prioritize the runs which were going to train that weakness so that I was able to then improve in my half marathon time. So I prioritized the runs which had strides in, and I prioritized the runs which had tempo in, making sure that I was running at race pace. So there were normally one or two of those, and that I could normally then split them up and have two of those midweek, and I would prioritize them and then have that weekend run. Then the base building or the aerobic runs, they were normally the ones that I didn't need. If you're in the same position and you're wondering which runs to do, instead of just do what I did, focus on what you need to grow. If you're someone who is progressing from 5 to 10K to a half marathon, then actually those long endurance slow ones would probably be the ones that you do need. And then maybe vary the intensity or the tempo. I'm going to put a massive caveat on all this advice though and say that I'm not a qualified running coach. I am a sport nutritionist, but I wanted to share a little bit about what I did as it might help guide you with your training program. I can talk you through my race strategy in terms of carbohydrate on another video, but I'm hoping that you now have a lot more insight as to what goes into hitting some high carbohydrate numbers, and you can use this strategy for half marathons as well as marathons. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you want more sport nutrition advice tailored towards running.